But Karen was already dialing. She'd been dealing with parking violators for 3 years as the self-appointed neighborhood watch coordinator, and she knew that giving an inch meant losing a mile. Precision towing? Yes, I need an unauthorized vehicle removed from Maple Ridge townhomes immediately. The satisfaction she'd felt watching the Honda disappear on the back of a flatbed truck had been intoxicating. Finally, someone would learn that rules mattered, that her authority meant something. She'd even posted about it in the HOA Facebook group, * another parking violator handled. Rules exist for a reason, people *. Now, standing barefoot on the cold asphalt in her bathrobe, Karen felt that satisfaction curdling into something bitter and familiar, the taste of her own medicine. She walked slowly around the empty space, looking for clues, for some explanation that would make this nightmare make sense. That's when she saw it, a small piece of paper tucked under her doormat. With shaking hands, she unfolded what appeared to be a work order from yesterday, signed by Margaret Chen herself. The header read, "Emergency Parking Reassignment," effective immediately, and listed Karen's space as temporarily designated for contractor use while Unit 38 underwent emergency plumbing repairs. At the bottom, in Margaret's distinctive handwriting, was a note. Mrs. Whitmore, your new temporary space is 47B. Please move your vehicle by 6 p.m. to avoid towing. Sorry for the short notice *. Karen's legs nearly gave out. The work order was dated yesterday morning, before she'd even left for yoga class. She'd never seen it, but more importantly, she'd never moved her car to space 47B, which meant her BMW had been parked illegally in her own space when Precision Towing made their morning rounds. Her phone rang, and Margaret Chen's name appeared on the screen. Karen answered on the first ring. "Karen, I got your message. I'm so sorry about the confusion, but..." "Margaret, this is insane. You can't just reassign someone's parking space without proper notice." "Actually, Karen, I can. It's in the HOA bylaws you helped write. Section 12.3 covers emergency reassignments. I left the notice under your door yesterday morning, and when you didn't move your car by the deadline..." Margaret's voice trailed off. "I never saw any notice. The wind was pretty strong yesterday. Maybe it blew away before you got home." Margaret's tone suggested she didn't quite believe her own explanation. "Look, I know this is frustrating, but you of all people know how seriously we take parking violations. You've been our most enthusiastic enforcer." Karen felt the words hit her like physical blows. She'd spent years building her reputation as the neighborhood's parking authority, the person everyone feared crossing. Now she was just another rule breaker getting a lecture about HOA bylaws. "This is different, Margaret. This is my car, my space." "Your temporarily reassigned space," Margaret corrected gently. The plumbing emergency at 38 required contractor access. It was the only option. Karen closed her eyes, trying to process the cosmic injustice of it all. "So what happens now?" "Well, you'll need to retrieve your car from the impound lot. Cash only, I'm afraid. And you'll need to park in 47B until the plumbing work is finished. Should be another week or so." After hanging up, Karen stood in her empty parking space, still in her bathrobe, watching her neighbors peek out their windows at the woman who'd finally gotten her comeuppance. Mrs. Rodriguez from Unit 40 actually waved, a gesture that seemed less friendly than victorious. But as Karen walked back toward her townhouse, a strange smile began to play at the corners of her mouth. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through her contacts until she found what she was looking for: the number for the city's parking enforcement division. If the HOA wanted to play games with emergency reassignments, she'd show them what a real emergency looked like. After all, she hadn't spent 3 years learning every parking regulation in the book just to roll over at the first sign of adversity. Karen Whitmore was down, but she was far from defeated, and she was about to remind everyone in Maple Ridge townhomes exactly why they'd learned to fear her in the first place. The war was just beginning. Karen Whitmore stood in her bathrobe at 6:47 am, clutching her coffee mug so tightly her knuckles had gone white, staring at the empty space where her BMW should have been. The tow truck's diesel fumes still lingered in the crisp morning air, and tire tracks in the frost told the story of her humiliation. Just 12 hours earlier, she'd been the one making the call to remove someone else's vehicle. The irony wasn't lost on her, it was crushing her. "This is impossible," she whispered, her breath forming small clouds in the October chill. The parking space she'd fought so hard to protect, the one she'd measured with a tape measure just yesterday to prove it belonged to her townhouse, was now mocking her with its emptiness. Her phone buzzed with a text from Precision Towing. Asterisk vehicle recovered. $385 retrieval fee. Cash only asterisk. Karen's perfectly manicured fingers trembled as she scrolled through her contacts, searching for the HOA president's number. Margaret Chen had always been reasonable. Surely she'd understand this was all a terrible mistake. The call went straight to voicemail. "Margaret, this is Karen Whitmore, from 42 Maple Ridge Drive. There's been a serious error with the parking enforcement. My car was towed from my own assigned space. I need this resolved immediately." Her voice cracked on the last word, betraying the panic she was trying so hard to suppress. The day before had started so differently. Karen had returned from her morning yoga class to find a battered Honda Civic parked in her spot. Not partially in her spot, completely in her spot, as if the driver had done it deliberately. She'd circled the parking area twice, her blood pressure rising with each lap, before storming up to her townhouse to retrieve her measuring tape and camera. "Excuse me," she'd called out to a young man walking toward the Honda. "You can't park there. That's my assigned space." The man, probably in his 20s with paint-stained work clothes, had looked genuinely confused. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm just here doing some touch-up work for Unit 38. The lady who hired me said I could park anywhere that wasn't marked reserved." "Well, it is reserved," Karen had snapped, though she realized with growing horror that the small metal sign marking her space had somehow gone missing. "I'm calling a tow truck right now." "Wait, please," the young man had pleaded. "I'll move it as soon as I finish. It'll just be an hour, maybe two."